Good morning and welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be across the globe. I'm Pat Dawson. I'm joined by Valerie Peck as the co-host of the Latin America online panel. We're delighted you could join us today. We have a wonderful panel that truly spans the Southern Hemisphere, and we look forward to learning from them and sharing their thoughts, and also hearing your questions, and we will direct those to the audience or to the panel as we go. So to begin, we'd like to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves. They'll provide their name and position and their company and tell you a little bit about what they do there. So we'll start with Rodrigo.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rodrigo Llaguno. I'm located in Mexico City. I'm the Customer Experience Corporate VP for Aeromexico. Previously from Aeromexico, I was the same position with Avianca and TACA Airlines. All of this, Aeromexico, Avianca, and TACA Airlines located in Latin America. And my main role in Aeromexico is directing the long-term vision for customer experience within all the touch points throughout the airline, as well as voice of customer, customer care, and aligning everything related to training, culture, that derives at the end of the day the customer experience we provide for customers in the region.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Tomás.
Okay, my name is Tomás. I am the CEO of TrackSale. TrackSale is a technology for customer satisfaction surveys. We track today more than 25 million customers in Latin America, including Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and other countries. Today, we are helping a lot of companies track KPIs of customers' satisfaction and experience. So we have a lot of experience to share.
Thank you, Tomás. Lía, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Lía Schwarz. I'm from Peru, so I'm Peruvian, working locally in Brazil. So I'm working right now at John Deere for about 4 years. I'm a customer experience supervisor right now. I fall in love with all topics related to customer experience, so I'm very passionate about that. I'm a marketing specialist with 8 years of experience in industrial marketing, also training specialist, and right now considering a lot of customer-centric culture here in Brazil with all our John Deere Experience Network and strategy, customer understanding, design, and governance. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And Pamela, hello.
Hello. Hello. Well, I'm Pamela. I'm a journalist. My specialty is in environment digital and strategic communication. Actually, my church is lead CX and content manager of the company Osmos CX Consulting and Research. Okay, yes. Well, this is the mainly my church here in Chile. The Osmos is the company. The focus is in the emotional of users, and the research. I'm sorry, but I'm very nervous.
Please relax. So you're doing fine. Thank you. Thank you. So you're familiar with the other voice on the line, my wonderful partner, Valerie Peck from San Francisco.
Hey, Pat, let me jump in real fast and just give our audience a couple of administrative notes, and then I will bow out, and you'll all be able to see Valerie this morning. Again, this is Leslie with CXPA, and you as the audience are encouraged to submit your questions through this panel today as well. They're looking forward to answering your questions on today's topic. Our Latin America panel is addressing cultural differences in customer experience and how people adapt. So please feel free to bring those questions, and Pat and Valerie will address those with the panel. All you need to do is type them into the chat box there on your webinar feature. Additionally, if you are following us online today on social media, we encourage you to use hashtag CXDay. There are some really incredible tweets that are being shared today, so if you're not on Twitter, this might be the day to join. Again, so hashtag CXDay to follow along with the conversation and to share the insights that you are taking away from this panel today. We have some other great online events that are coming up today after this panel, so make sure that you're checking those out at cxday.org. And without further ado, I am bowing out of here, and Valerie will pop in. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks to all our panelists.
Thank you.
Good morning.
There's Valerie.
Very early here, so pardon the hair.
So one of the questions that we're intrigued by, recognizing that there are differences from country to country and perhaps region to region, is how you define customer experience within your framework. And Rodrigo, we'll start with you. You started to mention in your introduction the many areas that you have responsibility for. Perhaps you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, I think in my point of view, when you compare the region and I don't know when my other colleagues in the panel, I don't know if they will agree with this or differ, but I think at Brazil it's a little bit different than the rest of Latin America. But even within Latin America, my perception is that the CX culture in general is at a very early stage culture. So when you walk around, in different places, in general, CX is still viewed as either call center or customer service. And I think the region is rapidly evolving, but to have a coherent vision of what customer experience envisions, whether that strategy, touch points, journey, voice of customer, and all the different things that are moving rapidly in the region, we're still very much at at the customer care culture, if you will. So people, when you present yourself as customer experience, people either they think about contact centers or customer care. However, at least in the airline world or in the service industry, this is rapidly changing, and it's I think it's a nature of how the world is connected right now. So our customers are much more demanding, and they understand what customer experience, and in general, the term customer experience, it's something that's becoming very trendy or fashionable. In my personal experience, 9 years ago, when I started the kind of the customer experience world, it took me a while to present myself, what customer experience was like. Now it's becoming a little bit easier. I'm still confused with customer care, but that's, I think, in general, the trend in the region at this moment.
So just to follow up on that, this is Valerie, Rodrigo, because so many different cultures touch Aeromexico, somewhat unlike some of the other panelists, do you have to have different modes of communication so that, when you're dealing with us demanding Americans versus someone who might be a little bit more casual or expectations of communications timing, how do you organize that?
No, I think that's a very, very interesting question, Valerie. I think one of the, I will see your question in two different views. One of the biggest challenges Latin American companies have, maybe like Aeromexico or the previous company that I used to work with is Avianca, which is also a Latin American airline as well, is that we lack a Latin American culture in general. So each specific country within Latin America has its own different nuances as well as regulations and customers' requirements. So we face that one challenge in particular. So how to speak kind of a Latin American voice, even while retaining your own little heritage. And on the other hand, yes, like Aeromexico and again Avianca previously, we are exposed to the kind of world-class demands. But I think that part is something that you will see throughout Latin America. I think customers in general within Latin America are, I think in recent years, we're becoming very proud of our own heritage, but at the same time, we want to become world-class citizens. So we start demanding from Latin companies kind of the world-class service you will see outside. So I think it's a very actual and real and present challenge of how do we adapt ourselves to our own heritage and the Latin American region, but at the same time keep the fast-paced demands, at least that we are required in, kind of in the airline industry. Like, for example, ourselves, we are part of SkyTeam as well, which is one of the global alliances. And this requires whether, SkyTeam or Star Alliance or OneWorld, regardless of the alliance you're part of, you have to move quickly to adapt to that, customer requirements.
Tomas, from a measurement standpoint, are you seeing the same sort of growth in terms of sophistication that Rodrigo is speaking of, or as you advance in the measurement side of the game, Tomas?
Yes, I agree with Rodrigo. In Latin America, especially in Brazil, CX is still in early stages. Yesterday, I was talking with a great experience, specialist customer experience, called Claudia Vale, maybe Lía knows. And we are talking because we agree and believe that Brazil, we're going to talk more about in customer experience just in 2018. So we are very, very early stages and growing right now. A lot of companies do not have customer experience departments in Brazil. We are watching these departments boarding right now. Companies in Brazil usually are focused on solving structural problems. So we have a lot of problems before to create a CX culture and customer-centric culture. I think issues like customization and empathy are very far from the point of we are working right now. It's our status right now. I can call it this.
So Lía, it would be really interesting to me because you're part of a company that is deep in American culture. How do you translate into Brazilian, or the region as it were, the John Deere brand and works?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was a good opportunity to work here in Brazil. As you know, I'm Peruvian. I have all the background from Peru. I work in Chile as well, also in Costa Rica, Dominican Republic. So I try to gather all perspectives and visions, thanks to that background experience, and try to apply at John Deere. So since 2012, we were working very hard with Claudia Vale. She was my manager. And we worked very hard on creating a John Deere experience program here at John Deere. So the objective of this program was to establish and group all all our dealer network and all countries in Latin America, so we can start gather a good foundation in Region 3, then to start to putting working on a unique vision, So right now we have 6 pillars in our customer experience journey. That is mainly customer experience culture. Then we have customer experience strategy, understanding the customer, also design, and measurement and governance. So with these 6 pillars, we established to have input from our dealer network, and then starting to create each culture and understanding their customs, so we can apply that with a unique view at the same time. So this is the vision that we were working since 2012, and we are growing on that through all our dealer network.
Great, thank you, Pamela. What is your perspective from Chile? What are you seeing there?
I agree with Thomas. The central concept today is the empathy. Get each and other's shoes. This is the phrase, as we say here, the customer have it along the side. feeling and the different contexts. Therefore, a user, even being on the same continent, is in Latin America. May they have the other rigor against to the broad future of the product-specific service. This is important. The users, before creating an interaction with the brand, the touch points. While Latin America is a great backdrop, and really, it's a big segment, we know that while there is a greater segmentation, and I don't know that exactly our end customer are, the more effective will the sale of our products and it will be better our service. We all know that the CX concept born in the retail industries, but in this time, the interaction was face-to-face. Today, this is the big change because the service moved to be digital environment. This is a great change. This is the mentality of the professional in the area of commercial. I don't understand still here that how build the service related with the behavior of user in the digital environment. This is the most important. For this, the most important today is understand your customer, understand your users. This is, I think.
Thank you.
So it'd be really interesting. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Val.
Okay, thank you. Of the team, so one of the questions that comes up a lot is where does the customer experience role sit in an organization? So I did some work, interestingly enough, for a company that was a global in Chile, in Peru, and in Argentina. And in that one company, the customer experience role sat in 3 different groups: marketing directly to the CEO in another, and then in customer service in the other. So what are you seeing, and what are you seeing as being most effective as an organizational structure for the CX role? I think probably, Rodrigo, you're the most mature company, and then maybe Lía as a second, because you're both in a company, and then maybe the other 2 can chime in of what they're seeing across the region.
I think it's a very difficult question, Valerie, because I think you have to take a lot of things in consideration. I think on one side you have to take the general culture of the company, the industry where the company plays, and I would say the CX maturity of the company. So to take a personal example, in my previous company, I was part of the Chief Revenue Officer organization. I reported directly to the Chief Revenue Officer, and now in Aeromexico, I report directly to the CEO. So it's kind of a same industry, but companies at different stages. So I would say Avianca was I would say a little bit more advanced stage than Aeromexico in terms of CX culture and kind of the history of the company moving ahead in terms of strategically design the whole journey, touch points, and culture aligned to deliver a specific customer experience, and all the measurements and tracking and reports and governance throughout the company. So I think it was safe for the company to have that role in a particular silo. Aeromexico, it's in a different stage. I think Aeromexico required a role that, because of how the culture in Aeromexico behaves, that was a little bit more silo-oriented than Avianca. It required to have the CX role at a more, I would say, a staff senior level in order to embed throughout the rest of the organization kind of a CX culture. So you have to take a lot of things into consideration when we're defining. As you were saying, you can split certain roles of CX, although in my particular vision, given the current stages of CX in the region, I still think you have to try to embed as much as possible within a specific group. in order to kind of define the strategy, the measurement, and then to embed throughout the culture of the organization. I have to say that within the corporate culture, again, it's one of the biggest challenges because it's a little bit grayish. I mean, sometimes you will see it on the marketing side, on the revenue side. Sometimes you will see it a little bit more on the operational side. So it's not a black and white answer. I think you have to look at the overall picture and then define where it makes sense. And it will certainly evolve over time. I think if you take into consideration, for example, some of the things that Bruce Temkin has wrote about kind of the different stages of the culture, I like to say here in Aeromexico that I would like to see my role disappear in the organization and CX embedded throughout everybody in the organization. So although I like to tell them, you know, not in the short term, I still need my job for a few years, but kind of my end goal is for everybody within, within the org, like, any of, at least of the service industry kind of Goliaths, maybe like, the Four Seasons or the business out there. I don't think you see a specific CX corporate VP in those organizations, but you see CX embedded throughout the rest of the organization.
Great. Leah, how is John Deere addressing that?
Yes, I agree with Rodrigo. Actually, we are implemented kind of the same thing. We are trying to align in and have a unique view that first embedding all our departments. So we are working very hard on that, trying to have the customer service department and also the sales team and also the marketing department all together to figure out how we can, in the operational level, we can support the customer experience strategy and actions. So we are trying to work in a very different levels, in the strategy level, first of all, and then going through the operational level with our dealer network. So yeah, this is a great opportunity. The CX role, this is finally positioning here in Latin America. I can speak from John Deere perspective. So we have an opportunity, and we have different challenges as well to start looking at different markets, but obviously just conserving their cultures, conserving their customs. So this was a really nice question. I really try to explore more, but at least, yes, I agree with Rodrigo on that implementation, but also in the strategy, we see many opportunities to come.
And just for example, we work with more than 900 companies in Brazil, so we usually big companies, and few companies in Brazil have a customer experience department. Usually they start working on marketing departments, BI departments, customer service, but it's a long way to have a company totally focused on customer experience. And always is a very great decision when the CEO or the president implement this like a top-down decision. It's a very it's more fast to implement the customer experience concepts.
And Pamela, what are you seeing in this? So across the different regions that you work in, where do people report into, and what are you seeing working the best or the least effectiveness in creating CX? I think you're muted. There you go. Okay, now is it me? I'm not hearing Leah or Pamela just now.
Okay.
There you go.
I hear you. Actually, the most important for all the process for the research is implement the ROI. When I work with the area commercial, this is the have very, very clear the point of the conversion. I think that is very important for the process. We as a consultant, we understand that the user experience with a multidisciplinary approach, as this gives us multiple perspectives when addressing a problem and help to identify patterns of the behavior that are invisible to traditional profile. This allows us to ensure working times, reach profitability, objective, and ROI of each project.
If it helps, speak in Spanish, and one of the other team will do a little translation for you. We understand in language here in CX.
Yes, and my English is very poor.
Okay. I'd like to. Any questions from the panelists?
Explain in Spanish?
Yeah, it's fine if you want to explain in Spanish, and one of the other teams said that they'd jump in and do some translation for you.
Bueno, nosotros como consultores nos enfocamos principalmente en la emoción de los consumidores, pero las áreas comerciales no entienden principalmente de qué se trata esto. Por lo tanto, una de las formas en la cual nosotros nos tratamos de encantar a nuestros clientes para poder realizar y construir buenos servicios es implementar puntos de conversión. Eso es lo más importante. This is the most important, the ROI. Implement the ROI in all the projects, okay? La experiencia de nosotros, o sea, el foco de nuestra empresa principalmente es entender a nuestros usuarios y las conductas de nuestros usuarios. Para eso nosotros tenemos varias herramientas, muchas herramientas que nos permiten hacer ese análisis de los usuarios. I have a lot of tools, but allow analyze the conduct of our users, and mainly in the digital environment. This is our focus. First, we have to understand we are all emotional conduct. Emotion is a very important factor for our customers. We are in emotion, and 90% of the process of the decision making is unconscious. The professionals of the neurobiologists and the neuroeconomists is agree that is between 80% and in the 90%. The decision to make it is conscious. Okay. For this, our focus is analysis of our users.
Rodrigo, maybe you could translate the essence of what Pamela was saying earlier.
Yeah, I took 3 notes, and hopefully I'll make them right. I think Pamela was talking about kind of her company focuses on addressing customer experience for the different customers. So I think the first part was that her company is mainly focused around customer emotions and how to deliver that emotion. You know, if companies are addressing those emotions, and that 90% of the customer choice is based out of emotion, and using that framework, figuring out different conversion points throughout the journey and the different touch points. And in order to have, when having those conversion points, she can define a specific ROI for the companies. Number 2, she was talking about the focus the company takes when addressing, again, CX. And it was mainly about understanding the users, and she mentioned they have several tools around how to understand those users. And number 3, that her company is mainly focused on I would say the digital arena, the digital environment. So those were kind of the 3 points. So hopefully, Pamela, I got them right. I was trying to take notes, but so it was around that.
Great. We have a question that came in from the audience. Please feel free to ask more questions. We're going to run out of them sometime. But what the question was, what are examples of best cases in each of the countries? Brazil, Chile, Mexico, I think I heard Costa Rica as well. So who are you benchmarking against? And are there any best practice companies that you look up to as great customer experience? Do you want to talk, why don't we start again with Lía, and then Pamela, and then Rodrigo and Tomás. We'll go back down the other way. So Lía?
Yes, of course. Yes. Well, one of the best examples I can mention is inside of John Deere, we work on the technical delivery, how we can improve the technical delivery process when the customer receives the machine. So there were a lot of work. There was POD, a project opportunity document, so we worked very hard on that. And what we found, it's very interesting because different countries were working on specific levels, like, for example, we are going to apply more emotional things, we are going to try to gather the machine itself, how we can offer better equipment about that. And we saw different levels, for example, from in this case, it was Ecuador and also in Brazil. So the perspective is totally different, and they were identifying different aspects here, like, for example, the emotion the customer when he receives the machine. And I think this was a good project, so for me to put here in the panel, because we can see that all the dealer network is trying to address a unique vision, but at the same time working in how to improve and how to maintain the best customer experience on that process. So the technical delivery process should be one of the best examples we can we achieved with our dealer network, and we are very proud to also share that with you.
Great. Rodrigo?
Well, I think from in the industry we operate as an airline, we tend to use two different benchmarks. I think within the region, we honestly, and in this airline and the previous airline, we don't try to benchmark with the, I mean, obviously we benchmark with the airlines in the region due to competitive reasons, but not in terms of how to deliver the CX. I think we look at hospitality services in general, mainly hotels and restaurants, and within the hotel chains, I try to focus in two different areas. Number one, kind of the big, I would say the big franchises, maybe kind of the Four Seasons and the things around kind of the same those brands in particular. And number two, and I think a little bit more interesting, is the actual operating partners in the region. That sometimes they do have kind of the brand essence from whether that's US or Europe, but at the same time they adapt those essences to how to operate within the region, and they in fact create amazing CX programs in the hospitality services kind of in Latin America. The other and now the other kind of, I'd say, companies that we benchmark against are airlines worldwide. I think the nature of our industry is, as we spoke kind of in the first questions, our customers tend to compare our airline with world-class airlines or world airlines worldwide. So we tend to compare very, very strongly with kind of world-class service carriers in the region. That may kind of differ on the airline you're working with. Our airline is what we call a full-service carrier, hub and spoke, so we tend to compare with full-service carriers around the world. But again, those are kind of within the service arena, that's where we generally benchmark. Although I have to say, Valerie, that we tend also to have a very, I would say, analytical component when analyzing different components of the CX role. So if you ask me in particular, when, for example, if we talk about voice of customer, so there are specific companies that I benchmark for. So if I talk about brand strategy, brand alignment, journey, I benchmark with another company. So we see the overall picture, and then we go kind of deep into the different instances of CX discipline, if you will.
Um,
I don't hear Valerie.
Valerie, we can hear.
Whoops, it helps to take it off of mute. So Pamela, you know, you do research, and so Rodrigo was talking about different levels of research there for benchmarking. What benchmarking are you seeing from a research perspective?
We consult in our company.
Yo te puedo ayudar con muchísimo gusto.
En algún momento nosotros realizamos una investigación relacionada con el comportamiento de los usuarios en el ambiente digital. En el ambiente digital, más bien en la página donde se realizaban las transacciones de una línea aérea. Una competencia tuya, Rodrigo.
Grande por allá en la región. Okay, ya.
Y bueno, nosotros realizamos también un benchmark del comportamiento de estos usuarios respecto al cómo estaban comprando, cuáles eran las necesidades principales de ellos y qué es lo que nosotros, cuál era el foco de las necesidades de estos usuarios. Y bueno, logramos de alguna manera acortar ciertos procesos dentro del Customer Portal. Y esto significó, de alguna manera, eso también fue un punto de rol para la empresa porque eso permitió que existieran menos consultas también dentro del portal. ¿Okay? Y bueno, y eso también permitía establecer mayor fidelización también con los usuarios.
Pamela, una pregunta que decía Valerie. ¿Ese benchmark ustedes lo hacen con otras industrias o con, digamos, o con compañías de la región? ¿Cómo? ¿Hacia quién hacen el?
Con las mismas, obviamente, con las competencias.
Okay.
Team, we're coming up against our half-hour panel time right now, but if we wanted to quickly, Rodrigo, do a quick recap of that, and then what is the one expectation that you've heard from your customers in Latin America? So, for example, I'll use Southwest Airlines, Rodrigo. I expect to get there on time with my luggage at the same time, and if there's something wrong, I expect someone to fix it for me before I have to call. Okay. So, for each of you, what are you hearing that might be different in the world of customer experience in LATAM?
Okay, so I mean, I'll just wrap up what Pamela was saying. She was saying that she worked for a specific customer and benchmarking a specific digital process, a purchasing process in the portal, for our airline, which is very, I guess, well known in Chile. You know, a competition of ours. And basically, what I asked her was, who did she benchmark with, and it was, you know, against the competition, and that allowed them to shorten kind of the process and deliver an ROI for the company. Hopefully, I translated it correctly. Do you want me to go ahead into your question, or do you want me to defer to somebody else? I can hear you, Valerie.
Let's, Thomas, can you pick that one up, please? And we'll need to wrap up quickly. The line needs to go to another webinar.
Okay.
So
just one word for each of you.
So thank you all very much for joining us, and to all of our listeners around the world. And we hope you continue to enjoy CX Day wherever you are today. Thank you.
Pat, Valerie,
thank you very much.
So much. Thanks to our panelists today.
Have a great day.
I really appreciate your time, and we look forward to our next webinar that will be taking place here in just under 30 minutes at the top of the hour. That will be the keynote webinar today from our our CCO panel. So looking forward to that webinar here coming up in just under 30 minutes at the top of the hour. Many thanks again to our moderators and to the two that put all of this together, Pat Dawson and Valerie Peck. And thank you so much to our panelists today, to Leah, Pamela, Rodrigo, and Thomas. Happy Customer Experience Day, and we look forward to seeing everybody on our next panel. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Happy Customer Experience Day. Bye.
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 Bye.